Welcome to Keep the Hotel Empty. Today we've kept the hotel empty to welcome in Rick and Christian from the post-whatever band, Movie Props. Rick, Christian, welcome, guys.
Thank you so much for having us, Eric.
Oh, I'm so glad you could come down. Well, I had to drop the post-whatever thing because that's what you have written in your Instagram, and that is immediately intriguing, and I want to get to that. But I want to kind of start at the start. Where do you guys see Movie Props coming together? Was this something that you guys had individually, music careers that kind of drifted together, or was this something you guys birthed in real time, the two of you?
That's a funny question because it's like, it's more like it organically happened, whether we were even going to imagine it was going to happen or not. It's just kind of like we were living in the same town, and Christian was working at Circle K at the time.
Yep.
Strange things afoot at the Circle K.
Yes. Oh, yes. There was a lot of shenanigans at the Circle K on Englewood Beach.
Yeah, it'd always be like, oh, let's go see Christian, blah, blah, blah. And he'd always be like, hey, what's going on, guys? Blah, blah, blah. So it was cool. And so I would be like, I'd have a guitar on my back, like riding my bike to the beach and like just, doing stuff. And I'd go in and see him and we'd talk a little bit and stuff. And I don't think we were as like, we didn't delve into how much we were individually into music and how much we were aspiring to be into it.
Yep.
And then like you were in another band at the time and everything like that.
I was.
And it was just like we kind of all merged together because I was coming out of another band at the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, what kind of music were you making individually?
Well, it was more of like grouped with other artists and stuff like that. And we were in other musical directions. And then going in different genres and stuff like that. But then when we came together, it was more of like a will to play more, naturally. Just like that kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, it was like for me, I was just crafting music with like some, friends of mine that I knew were already involved in the music scene.
Gotcha.
So it was one of those like, oh, cool, like let me go start playing with them. And at the time, I really didn't hone in on playing the drums and trying to like figure it out more and using it as like a utilizing it as like a tool, as like, okay, this is going to be like a passion. It's not necessarily like, oh, cool, let's go on the road and this and that. And like,
gotcha.
I think it was learning through the years like a sort of discipline. And back then, I was just greenhorn, just starting out. And when Rick had joined the project, that was when were like playing shows, and that was like some of my first experiences of doing that. And then COVID hits. And once the pandemic hit and quarantines started to happen, it was sort of like that project kind of dissolved away. And
that was the more of a band situation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so
that
it was
a
like,
solidified thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had wound up joining up with him, and then
Gotcha.
It was like 5-piece thing at that point. But
then COVID monkey wrenches that.
Yep.
Yes, exactly.
And then we just wind up being like, okay, well, we'll get together on these off days around the band practice days because it's fun to play and we're just intrigued. And then even more so since everything's slowed down and we can't play shows anymore and like everyone's kind of doing their own thing. Well, luckily we lived like close enough in the same town to where it's like, hey, come on over, we'll play some music. And then we just kept going from there, just...
Yeah.
So what did you think in the beginning of it, since everything was so uncertain? It wasn't like, hey, we're going to write a bunch of songs and go play gigs. What it was really just the impetus to play?
At first.
Yeah. I mean, it was March 13th of 2020.
So you're right on the doorstep.
Right on the doorstep. And we are the project that we were in at the time, the band, were going to play down at a little half pipe, like a coffee shop that no longer exists. I believe it was like Cape Coral or North Fort Myers. Okay, yeah. Fort Myers proper. And so we ended up playing that in lieu of that band playing because it was
two of us.
Yes, just the two of us.
Because the band that we were in was like actually scheduled to do the thing, but then it was like conflicts of everyone being able to get together for it, and then everything happening. Obviously, it was like everyone's like very on edge about things. So the last thing they're thinking about is, let's play a show. It's just like, what is going on in the world, So, but we're like, we've been playing together so much to where it's like, So I was a little hesitant, but Christian was like,
Yeah.
I mean, let's just do it, man. Let's just do it. We got like, we've been playing together for like a couple months now. There's a lot of stuff going on. And then we had like collected pieces of music that you could not quite call songs, but like collected pieces of music to where you could perform them for people. So where I was a little more like, it'd be nice to do it when it's all together, but he's like, let's just like throw it out there. And then so we met in the middle and we're like, let's just do the thing. All right. And then that was like our first official show before like, you know, anything really, just like, and it was special in that way, you know?
Yeah.
That half pipe show.
Goodness,
cool.
we probably played, it felt like after the fact, it was like, man, that was good. But it felt like we played for like 45 minutes or something. It was just jams. It was like, oh, okay. And then there were like one more song. And then it was like 10 minutes later, we're like, oh, okay, we're done.
And the song was the one song we didn't go over, but it was just one of the lengthier, like more like postier, like patient, like builds
That's
up.
what it comes to. It's handy to have those in the bag.
It was still like jammy, but there was a structure there. But that gave us a lot of inspiration to keep going.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we did that.
Yeah,
you know?
it was, I don't know, there was a gentleman there that brought like his younger like daughter out to the show and she was there hanging with her friends and then he actually came up to us and was like, hey, like that was really cool what you guys were doing. You guys made me feel something. And I think through the uncertainty of like the pandemic and the quarantine, we were like, will shows ever come back? What is going on? But I think those words like resonated with us. And it was constant like driving force to like, let's like just jam. Let's write. Let's do this. And we would get together like basically every day. You know,
at that point, especially so, both of us out of work pretty much, you know, just to one degree or another. And it's just like, okay, let's get together and play, see what happens, be open to what happens, you know, try to record it. If we can, we just record it and lay it down and got these lengthy jams and we pick out of and whatever. There's some little candy in there, whatever sweet spots. I was like, that's pretty cool. Maybe we can make something. And just kept getting excited about what's to come. With what we were doing, and that carried us through that period, and you know.
Well, let me ask you a little bit about and try to describe for me a little bit about what it is you do because you play just as a two-piece, just drums and keys, but vocals as well. It's not instrumental. How did you come to that point? Were you playing keys in the band that you two were in? Because I know you mentioned you had your guitar on your back, so you must play guitar. Were you playing keys in the band and it was just a matter of you two switching off or busting out, or did you develop this around, we're going to do two-piece keys and drums?
Well, that project that they had enlisted me in because I was pretty much friends with everybody in the group. So it was pretty nice to be, hey guys, all right, count me in.
Hell yeah.
You know, so, but it was a very guitar-driven already band. There was already a lead guitar, a rhythm guitar, bass, and stuff like that. So it was like, there's room for keys, I guess. So then I brought keys in, and I like playing vintage pianos, like old Wurlitzers. That's like my favorite thing in the world.
That's your main instrument?
My favorite electric piano they've ever invented is the Wurlitzer electric piano.
Yes.
Drives me crazy how versatile the thing is, and it's just so unique in its own right. And that's when they started electrifying pianos. So
exactly.
It was fascinating to me to see.
So let me mission drift real quick then, and I hate to cut you off, but being someone who's playing now when the digital equivalent of everything you play is well accessible, you can get a Arturia Wurlitzer, you can get any number of Wurlitzer clones that sound kind of close. What is the big difference for you playing the actual analog instrument where you're actually dealing with voltage than zeros and ones? What's the difference for you as the player?
You just said it, the voltage itself, like the actual power that's driven through the amplifier. That it's a preamp in itself, the Wurlitzer. So it's an amplified instrument. It pushes. It has a preamp boost built into the amplifier. That's the vibrato itself, and that will give you more of a boost and a breakup, similar to like a tube amp kind of situation, you know? So that was always fascinating to me about it. Like it had such versatility. It could be very mellow or just like, if you needed to get beefy, you just crank up a couple of things and it's like, you know. So that is the difference in itself. It has that built-in amplification. It's not just like a chipboard and just like a sample of a thing, you know. And a lot of keyboards are very capable capable these days, you
Oh,
know.
of
But
course.
it's just like that was the difference that always it stood alone.
Yeah, that's
that,
why I
right,
wanted
you know?
to ask right away what the difference is experientially for you.
Yeah.
Because, you know, maybe we can dupe the sound. Maybe some people won't notice the sound difference. Maybe.
Yeah.
Though the sound difference is distinct and right there, but
Yeah,
it has to offer you something as a player that you feel that way about it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've always been very passionate about that piano itself. Like I love vintage keyboards and instruments in general. I just love the quality that was always put into them.
Right.
Whether a little more cheaper on the cheaper side or high end, it just seemed like back then there was always this quality standard that existed, and I was always fascinated with that. But the Wurlitzers were amazing to me. So, in short, get back to what we're saying.
Yeah.
That's the instrument I brought to the band that we were in, and I played keys and doing that with them and everything like that. But then we carried that over, and that's now the bass instrument in movie props.
So when you guys first started writing together, things were born out of jams, but they could be songs. Describe to me a little bit of your sound. Are you trying to, I hate to say that, does it inevitably turn into more of jams for you and more looser knit things? Or are you trying to sculpt things as songs when you're writing?
I mean, definitely songs. I would say like that's the ultimate goal. But when we sit down to jam, it's very free form. And we just will jam for about 40 minutes and 50 minutes, and we just throw it up on the GarageBand. And
That's always the silent witness.
There you
Yes.
go.
GarageBand is just, keep this here, you know, whether good or bad or whatever we think, you know, go ahead.
yeah, no. But and then basically like after we're done with, or you know, if after we're done with practice, especially on like a Wednesday, if it's going to be like raining or it's like, oh, we're not, you know, really doing anything the next morning, we'll listen back. And Rick will do that a lot in his free time, and we'll find a lot of like ideas where he's like, hey, this was really cool, we should circle back to this. And then we'll approach like some practices where it's like, hey, let's circle back. And in fact, he found an old song where we didn't even know that he had even added like vocals, like lyrics to it.
Yeah, it was forgotten. It was so funny. It was
Yeah.
just one of those things. And it was very early on, too, when we were getting together and playing. And we had a few iterations of our jam spaces, and that'll be another thing. But,
Yeah.
but this song, it's called Whatever's Lost, and it's going to be on a future release, whether an album or an EP or a single, who knows. But it's definitely coming up very soon. And we had forgotten that it was pretty much completed. Because back then, I think we were cooking on so many things to where it was like, we
Yeah.
kind of prioritized one thing over another. And then,
Yeah.
but now it's interesting that it's come out and it's aged well to where like, oh, this is great. Let's do it. And it's funny in that way.
How do you maintain the open-mindedness to pursue any of each other's ideas or any of these seeds that crop up, or even an old piece like this? You know, how do you have the apprehension to, or I should say lack of apprehension, to just pursue the ideas regardless?
I kind of got a little answer for that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, no. If you got an answer, you go for it.
I think it's the fact that maybe that we were both, like for Whatever's Lost, for example, we were both doing the thing at a time and place and in life. And it was like, we found this and we're like intrigued by what were we doing at this point? What was happening here? Like this was a year and a half ago. This thing happened probably roughly or so. Maybe more.
I mean, yeah, it could have been
but
true.
That was
you
the
know.
thing, the intrigue in where were we at this point? What was, because it's always trying to progress and grow. Well, we're always trying to do that in one way or another as people, as artists, everything like that. You know, obviously, just everyone's trying to do that. But it's just, that'd be a thing to where it's like, maybe this is cool. Let's improve on this. Like you took the drums and that, and you were like, I'm liking what's happening, because he had been doing things back then at a certain point on the toms, like rolling and through beats. And then it was like, that's pretty cool. And he had stopped doing that to explore other things.
Right.
So he forgot about the fact that he was doing that. So it was kind of like, oh. So that's where it's like the patience comes in, just based from the intrigue of the, oh, okay. Oh, well, that maybe will. But then, oh, this is pretty cool, you know? So it kind of, it's intriguing to see how we could craft it now listening to it.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the thing with that one, I think, especially because we did have to have a little bit of patience revisiting it.
Yeah, of
that
course.
We had forgotten about it.
Yeah.
But we made some alterations to how we stand now. It's like, this is what we'll do here. This is, back then, that's how we felt, but this is where we could refreshen it a little bit. And it was like, so there's always excitement, put it that way. It's just
Crucial.
something new.
Yeah.
Crucial.
Yeah.
So I know in a band setting, and maybe you guys can relate to this when you're beyond a two-piece, and the reason why I asked the question that I just did, I know there can tend to be people in the band, I've been guilty at this at some point in a past life, where you can get precious about the things you've written. You don't want to change it. You just want your partner to enhance your part and play along, right? This is some of the downside of being in a bigger band where you can be greater than the sum of your parts, but you got maybe 3 or 4 other people that are trying to quality control your ideas, right? In this case, it's just the 2 of you. So being able to pursue one another's ideas is inherently a little bit easier because it's just the 2 of you. But what are some of the things that you also find advantageous being just a 2-piece? Because that's kind of abnormal.
I mean, I think it's a lot easier in a sense when, when rarely is there a point when we're both like, I really don't like this part. It's more for maybe our own part. Like, because maybe Rick will tell me like, I really don't like what I'm doing for this part. And then we'll spend, time going over that part and going, drilling it. And then vice versa. If I don't like what I'm doing, for example, like this Whatever's Lost song that we had found, there were things that I didn't like about it. And I was kind of like, hey, it seems like there was a lot of fluff in this. Maybe we can take a whole chunk out. And then we tried it like that, and then we added more of like a dramatic buildup because we're, especially myself, I feel at a better caliber of a musician now,
Sure.
Percussionist now than I was back then. So I think for me, I always know that there's like, if we don't ever really butt heads about a part. I think it's just, there's not an outside influence. It's like, oh, wait.
Right.
The other person doesn't like it. Well, then we got to change it.
Right.
Where there's not that other person, where there's maybe a third person or a fourth person, where all of a sudden it kind of, in a sense, muddies the waters a little bit, because then there's 2 people that are like, well, damn, I really like that part. And then the other person's like, well, I don't.
Yeah.
It's more like friends trying to figure out a problem together.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's not a problem, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just people who are close in heart, just like have been through a lot together, just like, all right, what can we do with this? All right, well, okay, let's take a breath. Let's go outside and just, hang out for a minute and revisit it. Yep. There's a good amount of patience that I'm very grateful for in the duo that we have come to help grow and develop, So
yeah, patience is a tricky thing in the creative process.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It helps that we're very close friends, because it's like, makes life a little easier knowing you don't want to hurt that person that you're working with. That was the thing I was thinking about, I don't know, a week ago or something. Just like, there's always that kind of thing that kindles back there, It's like, we got to figure this out. We're going to get this bridge, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's got to boil down to everybody being happy and being good with what they're doing, It's just, there's more than just, we got to work it out, blah, blah, blah. There's matters of the heart and...
Yeah, the intangibles.
Yeah, exactly. So things that words aren't very good for.
Yeah, amen. Well, that's why we got Wurlitzers and drums.
Yeah. Awesome.
So there's obviously some advantages to being a 2-piece, obviously some disadvantages, and not so much interested in that portion of the show. What I am more interested in, though, is what are some of your influences in this? I mean, I know obviously there's White Stripes out there and Lightning Bolt and Hella and some of the 2-pieces that, had some prominence in underground spots in the day. But what do you draw as your influence? Maybe try to, if you could, maybe try to explain a little bit of what your sound sounds like to you and where you feel you derived that inspiration from. Because I hear a lot of different influence in your music.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what it is to you.
Mm-hmm. That kind of thing has always been a very abstract kind of reality to me that I never was big on defining to begin with, but like there's all kinds of stuff really. It's just like it's ever growing, and from my end of it, like my favorite songwriter is Neil Young. Like I could live and die listening to his records. Like seriously, what he's done and how he's developed over time, and it's just like he's one of those artists that it's the epitome of like a songwriter and everything like that. But then there's also just other crazy stuff. Like, I don't know, like back then I used to love the Doors and stuff.
Yes.
And because like they were doing keyboard players playing bass.
Yes, sir.
Doing a lead thing. And there's just this crazy, just vile sounding stuff coming out of this band that it's psychedelic, but it's like a little more like, I don't know. There's a little bit more of a bite to it. It's just, they were doing something interesting, and I really liked that growing up and stuff. And just blends of older music. I've always appreciated older stuff. And there's a lot of genres, you know, many different genres of older stuff. So, and then getting into newer stuff, just, you know, it's kind of hard because I have my little favorites and everything like that.
Yeah, of course,
but it
of
all
course.
takes influence from older 60s stuff, and just like,
True.
you know, there's a lot of heart and soul in there. It's like, how can you not be influenced one way or another? It's just
Facts.
But that's all, you know, it's all influential. It's just one of those questions, you know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
not necessarily, and I know it is a bit of a loaded question in that it will sort of give people who aren't familiar with your sound the expectations that you might sound like Neil Young, you might sound like the Doors, but you don't sound anything like the Doors, at least from my personal
Sure.
interpretations. But I'm more curious what you think your music sounds like to you. What do you think the listener gets from it? Do you think that the bits of inspiration that you've maybe taken from the Doors or Neil Young that don't sound like that are something that you feel you are translating in your own way to your audience?
I think from just the inception of this project, we've always wanted to sort of give people like sort of like an escape. The first a potential name that we had for the band was escapism. And we had come up with that. We really wanted like a one-word band name. We were striving for it. We were going through the dictionary. We were looking up things. We were looking up synonyms. We were
Doing all the things.
And Deftones was already taken.
yeah.
That's the thing about it. Was that taken? Damn it! Oh, damn it! Was that taken? Oh, okay. Blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
That was the thing.
The 60s and 70s took a lot of that too. The Birds, the Cars, the Doors. Okay, so escapism?
Yeah.
So that was like rough in the runnings.
In the runnings, yeah. And then we found out it was like maybe like an early 90s or late 80s like metal band.
Of
but
course.
it wasn't like, it was just generic like metal. It wasn't like hair, I forget.
Like
we
two on the nose.
we were like, oh, do we like, and we were like, no, because let's not do that. Let's because people are gonna look it up on YouTube one day, or what happens if escapism actually has like a resurgence, and now there's like this metal band, and now we're like, we're
right.
not
You can't
that
ever know that
way.
that's not going to have. Good point.
Yeah. But I think that's where we sort of, when we're coming up with songs, we just want people to like kind of just escape, like not think too much, you know. And then if they are, it's sort of just like, no, don't think about it. Just, you know.
If it taps into your influences in a way or one way or another, then that's good.
Right.
It's nice. We're happy for that. We're not trying to do it too intentionally, to where it's like, okay, well, these guys sound like whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, you know.
That takes the fun out.
We're doing what we can with our setup and the way that we do it. So if it makes you think of something that you like, that's wonderful. We probably couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Because that's the fun of it, really.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever makes you think of, oh, this sounds like what I like. I like this. It's like you can't even imagine how it connects with people. Stuff. That's my own experience from listening and stuff. And then
True.
just that kind of fun. It's fun,
Amen to
In
that. If it's
way.
not fun, what are we doing?
Yeah, seriously.
So, as escapism turns out to be maybe a little too on the nose, maybe we don't want to conflate with this band if they dig up. Where does movies props the actual moniker get birthed from? Because I dig that name.
Okay, so there's a two-part
Yes.
thing, and then so the first, it's like before the name was anything. Before we had any kind of name thing, the jams that we would do, because we'd started jamming at your mom's house.
Yes.
And before we had an actual spot to set up our instruments, we were like, okay, your mom's cool, do it over there in your mom's house. It was an extra bedroom and everything.
Hell yeah. Shout out to all the cool moms with extra bedrooms letting the bands rehearse.
Yes. Shout out, Mom.
The classic.
Yeah.
It was
probably
her
listen
old
to this.
bedroom. Yes, she'll appreciate it. And then so we would set up there and we would just see what happens, And then so the stuff that was coming out, because I wasn't vocalizing anything yet. I wasn't trying to sing to anything. We were just strictly instrumental back then and trying to just flesh things out and explore whatever we were capable of together, So it was that kind of thing. But what was coming out in my brain from what I've liked and listened to was like the old Italian westerns, Clint Eastwood and the old, the westerns that they would do, the soundtracks to them were always very fuzzed out guitars and all this old stuff that sounded so cool to me with these huge landscapes, these huge freaking, just seeing that stuff. Oh God, coupled with the music, it just always blew my mind. It reminded me of those old Western soundtracks of those old movies, what we were doing and everything. So I didn't mean for anything movie centric. But it did sound kind of soundtracky to me in one way or another.
It was a cinematic vibe out of the gate.
There was no intention. So that was the part one of the movie props origin name. But then
and then from our family too, because we switched over from jamming at my mom's, and my mom would be like, man, it sounds like it could be part of a video game soundtrack, or it sounds like it could be a part of a movie soundtrack. And she said that back then. Yeah. And then we go over to Rick's parents' place and we're jamming in our original band room. And, they would even make comments about it and whoa, it sounds like, a soundtrack or something. You should be doing it for movies and,
Yeah, any kind of encouragement we could get for giving them a hassle.
So
loud and everything. I was it was pretty loud for what it was, but we kind of got the little hints here and there. But then we were just on the porch one night after we were done playing, and we were smoking cigarettes and hanging out, just whatever. Blah, blah, blah. And we went to the Dollar General down the corner of me, and then I got a pack of cheap cigarettes. And that smokes like a movie prop cigarette. This is not even. It's not even any flavor here. What's going on? It was movie props. Movie props? Movie props.
Movie props. It was.
Is it taken? That was the thing. We were still in that phase of looking up
Yep.
in the dictionary phase. Escapism was no, get that out of here. We're not going to work with that. So we're in between. We're is that taken? Let's look that up. Yeah. No one has really jumped on that really legitimately.
Then that's the sign.
It was just as natural as the music comes. That's kind of how I think was... Yeah. It was there, and
we were like, okay,
it's one of those things where
it just clicked,
and the name is just the facade of the forefront of the storefront before you go in,
right?
It's that kind of thing, and then once you go in, you see the merchandise, and you're like, do I like this? I don't know. It's just if you like the music, I think the name kind of plays into that.
Yeah, right. And
it's one of those things.
That's kind of maybe a good thing about not having one of those one-word names that gets you right away. You got a name that they got to come in for and see what it is when they get there.
There's a little bit of discovery there, one way or another,
Yeah. Not everything has to be low-hanging fruit for short attention spans.
Yeah. It's fun that way.
Yeah, it is fun that way. I mean, we'll get mixed. Some people will be like, oh, ask about the band name. Other people will be like, oh, I thought you guys sounded like this. Oh, that sounds like this. The other day it was somebody was like, oh, it sounds like a, sick pop punk band name. And I'm like, well, no, it's not really that. And, but it's really what it is to everyone. And that's why I think we had kind of just come up with I don't know, just post whatever.
Yeah, that too. That leaves a nice open-ended thing for, kind of not too specific, but
Yeah.
Intriguing
Like
enough.
specific enough. Yeah. Having
Yeah.
like a post to it, because we do, really enjoy a lot of like post rock bands,
yeah.
Sure.
you know?
So the emotion, I think it ties back into like that first show that we played where the person said that it made them feel something, because like that's what we get from genres like post rock and stuff like that. There's an emotional, like there's a turmoil there, there's a triumph, there's many different things
Having that
come.
dynamic.
But like having that evoking from, it's just, that's what we were looking for, to make music that can emotionally, engage somebody in one way or another, positive or negative. But, we don't want anybody feeling miserable. But obviously, it's just a pool of those emotions
Yeah, I
that
was
come
gonna
from
say.
certain genres.
Right.
That
Yeah.
kind of
We're
thing.
living on a spectrum. You might as well try to be part of the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. You start off instrumental. You're having this clearly definably cinematic sound, though we don't quite know what that means yet, and you're not singing. At what point do you decide that you're going to start putting vocals on there, and what's it like when you go perform for the first time singing?
That was a period, and I think it's still a period from time to time when we write new stuff. But it was a point where it was like, there's gaps I can hear in the music. We were writing stuff, and I could either write more parts. It's like they're going so well with the parts that you're writing with the music, and it's just like they fit so well together, but I can still hear these gaps. So if there's a chance that it could be filled with a vocal melody, to me that would be interesting. That would be something that, it's always fun to find more little elements when you're listening to music. Oh, that's interesting. So
Heck yeah.
figured, why not? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I tried. What are you going to do? But we kind of wanted to see what we could do with two people, and see as much as we could do with the two of us, and how big we could make it sound, and how fun we could have doing it. And so I figured, I'll try to do some vocals with it and see if that can lay with the music. And that's kind of how I've written the melodies since I've been starting to do that. Because I think the live iterations of the songs were very rough, lyrically crude, just I'll know what I want to say when I have time to work on it more and everything like that. But this is the melody, this is the intention in the music. And then so we play it as we've rehearsed instrumentally, and then I'll apply a vocal thing, an idea, like see how it comes across and see how it helps maybe develop the song a little more. And that's how it's kind of gone, If I have inspiration, I'll just try to write something, and then this song could use vocals, actually cool. And then it comes along that way. Certain ones are instrumental, but they're becoming more vocally, inclusive too. So it was a little bit stressful in the beginning, but now that there's like a clear way of a process, that it's like, okay, all of these have the capability of being vocal. We'll see how it goes, but we always write instrumentally first. Give a good like basis to what is going to happen. And if the song is like, this thing stands on its own, like they all, I feel good about all of them, regardless vocally or not. Yeah. But it's just like coming back to what we were saying, is like, I'd like to see what we can do with two people, and then everything we have to offer to bring to the table, and for people to listen to and be, entertained by and inspired by and whatever, it's just one of those things. So I'd like to do as much as I can when it comes to getting on the stage and being in front of people, because they did a lot to get out there, you know? And in their lives with a million things going on, it's like they made it there. So we got to make sure we can be there as much as we can, So.
Love that mentality.
Yeah.
So when you first started, did you have the intention on maybe one day I'll sing, and it just kind of sat on the back burner? Or was this one, because singing is a vulnerable thing, and adding it to an instrumental thing that you already have going, you don't necessarily have to do that. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be vulnerable. You didn't really have to add it. So was it something that you wanted to do from the onset that just took a little while to make itself plausible? Or was it just one day you literally heard those gaps and was like, I'm just going to sing?
It's something that I felt that I knew that I would be capable of doing. But I didn't want to overstep because I was unsure of what we would be capable of doing. Because I didn't want, it was very exciting to play with Christian and just we're writing this music that I feel excited about and makes times that I'm not very excited about. So it's like this whole thing coming together. I was very grateful for it. But then in the back of my mind, I knew, I might be able, I can sing some stuff, but I don't want to do too much right now. This is really good what we got going. I don't want to pile too much on the plate.
Right.
And with what we're trying to juggle, it was good to me. I was like, maybe I think vocals would be incorporated down the line. At some point. So I think we got a lot of skeletons together and a lot of like the
Yeah, and I mean Rick
framework.
He's already he's a beautiful singer and stuff like that. And he gigs a lot down south. Like, that's knows a lot of material from other singers and, has studied that and done different renditions. And I'll sit in with him from time to time, not a lot as of late, but, when we do, it's always one of those things where he's like kind of pushed me. So it, to be a better, percussionist and to, sort of, at the same time as he's saying like, man, there's always like potential for more. I think at the same time, I'm like, oh yeah, there I can explore that, I can do that, and eventually start incorporating that gosh darn SPD, SX.
Oh yeah, we got a drum pad.
Yeah, we got a drum pad.
Pads.
Oh, those are super fun.
So daunting to like think about that because then I'm like, oh, I gotta keep up with the ghost drum now.
Please, we'll write in a way because that's the thing. When another element comes into play, it's like. It inspires you in another way.
Yes.
Right.
And that's with the singing. I think that was, a thing. Because now, we're writing like a song where it naturally, all right off rip was like, this is going to have vocals eventually. This is, you got a strict, I don't want to say pop formula, but
you're hearing verse, chorus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very straightforward and something streamlined, not too crazy or complicated would benefit that piece of music. And then we're cooking it up right now. And then so it's just like, it's nice because like Christian was like immediately hearing like in this chorus and these stabs, there's going to be something here. Like that's where that's got to be. And then so I was like, okay, that's cool. And he sent me lyrics and stuff like that and just like all ideas like coming together and stuff. So I've been like hashing it out a little bit. And that's kind of how the songwriting's always been in where we're like, you have ideas? I have an idea. You got an idea? Let's make this melting pot of ideas and see what we can make happen with this, And it was just, it's more of discovery rather than hashing out, something. It's more like, see what we can do with each other's contribution, everything like that.
Right. So it's, I guess one of the natures of being a two-piece is you have to always be kind of cognizant of being greater than the sum of your parts. You got to do as much as you can do.
Yeah.
In theory. Or you got to be willing to do as much as you can do in theory.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
But then just also it's a fun thing with like the improvising to be open to whatever may happen. And it's like, okay, what might happen here might be that kind of thing. I couldn't sit down alone. I would sit down alone and think of something different. But like if there's the dichotomy of like getting together, oh God, you just got out of work, I had a lousy day. Oh my God. Ugh. All the feelings of everything. Yeah. You get together, you have to do this. It's a couple times a week. We get together, lay something down. You never know what's going to happen. It's very, I don't mean to like romanticize it.
Well,
but it is.
Yeah,
it's
exactly. 100%.
It's magical, man. You never know what's going to happen. And so if something special happens, you grab onto it by recording it. That's how you grab onto like whatever special that's going to just go back out into the world.
We're lost to the jam gods.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
Lost because sometimes
the jam gods.
Sometimes the gosh darn laptop it'll die sometimes, and we're like, no, and then we'll load it back up, and then
we'll get the rainbow wheel.
And we're like,
oh no,
come on,
we lost the project.
That's
The
what they
Jam
got
Gods
to
have
say.
they have the best mixtape on
Yes.
earth and no one will hear
Yeah.
it.
And no one will ever hear it. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's been, that kind of thing.
So that brings up an interesting question. How do you guys navigate your live performances when you do have elements that you can clearly expand on instrumentally, and you do have elements now that are becoming more clearly, obviously, verse, chorus, songy, for want of a better way of putting it? Do you try to map things out and play song, 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 or do you pick a song and you just play it till you feel like you're done? Or how do you navigate your compositions live?
I for that one, we just will sit down, the week prior, and then we'll look at what bands we're playing with, their style of music, and then sort of go through like our catalog and be like, well,
We'll try to cater sometimes with
Yeah.
shows because it's like, certain specific styles. We'd be like, hey, maybe we can pull out this kind of thing,
Yeah.
and cater the set to that,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
and then see how long we have to play. If we do have like 40 minutes or 35 minutes, it's like, 40 or beyond, we're like, cool, we can play a lot of like some of the longer, more dramatic songs.
Right.
And then if it's something where it's like maybe 25 minutes, I think we kind of, quote unquote, go balls to the wall, where we're like, you know what? We're going to play as many songs as we can within this time frame. And then, in a way, this is where I look at Rick and I'm like, hey, can we stitch this one and this one together? Is that in the same key?
Then we'll
or is
make
that-
transitions, instead of stopping.
Right.
Go right through and make sure we're on time with everything. And just make it a flowing thing instead of just stops in between. That's kind of fun sometimes.
Yeah, and that really
Yeah.
plays into the experience for the audience too, I feel, personally.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, to sort of make it that there's a friend of ours in another band, and one night watching them at the Benz out in St. Pete, they sort of just played, stitched songs together, but then kind of jammed in between breaks. Like one of them, if there was a tuning, like maybe the bassist and drummer would do something, and then the next song would start, and like watching it, it was like, that was really cool that you guys did that. Like, why? And they don't normally do that. And they're like, yo, we didn't want to give them an opportunity to go
stop
outside and have a cigarette. And then and it's like, okay.
I'm with that.
Yes, keep
I'm
people
with that.
there. Like, where they're like,
That's how I would feel if I was watching something that was interesting. I was like, okay, keep it coming.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Same.
So it's like, that makes a lot of sense. So we do that from time to time and stuff like that. But the formula has always kind of been, I think it's been refining since we've been writing more and everything. We've been more like, okay, working this lie. Is it more, it gets a little more structured, but like still has, I think, the essence. I mean, it's we do what we do and we try not to analyze it a whole lot, and
Crucial. How important do you find that? To not analyze it too much.
that's
a thing.
Yeah.
I think when a good thing comes out that I like, just on maybe just a lone piano playing, also with him, and if we're like we go back to the recordings and stuff, like if a thing's there, it's like, that's pretty cool. Keep it. There's a reason that came out, and you think it's cool, and that's something really cool. If there's something a little shortcoming about it, then maybe do a little workshopping. But it's these things come out for a reason, and you should be there for them and be there to receive them and grab onto them, and that's how the songs come out, I think, one way or another.
Amen to that philosophy. So then that leads me to one I wanted to ask you before. Do you record every rehearsal you do?
For the most part, there's like stints of time, maybe if we're going to be playing like a show that weekend, maybe 2 shows that weekend. And
then you're just doing show prep rehearsals?
Yeah, and if we're not getting together again, it's sort
They'll
of like...
still be
okay.
hybrids. We'll still try to do some like playing and improvising and stuff like that amongst after we've played the set that we prepare to play for the weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, well then
So it's like
that
twice a
makes
week
me
we get
want to
together.
ask you, how important do you find it then to flex that creative muscle, keep it working, even if you're not going, if you're getting ready for shows, how important do you find it to still make time to jam a little bit and try to be creative no matter what else you have going on?
I mean,
it's important, you know. Definitely, I think Rick does a lot of exploring. You do, you know. I do a lot on my own time, you know. Where if Rick's busy and I'm, you know, kind of just okay, well, I'm done with work. I don't have a lot to do today. I'll just go and kind of like sweat in the band room and just play and, you know, feel good about it. And then I know you do a lot of
it's a
workshopping.
10 by 20 metal shed.
Oh Lord!
Yes. We're in
Yes.
Florida.
I was gonna
too,
say in
so-
Florida, that's a torture chamber, I believe.
There's a small 5,000 BTU air conditioner.
So if
it
you're
does
within
enough.
2 feet of
Yes.
it, you're good.
Luckily, the air conditioner's on
Yes.
the opposite side of the.
Oh Lord!
of the
Yeah.
musical
So your
setup.
environment's got to be a little bit inspirational too, because
Yeah.
you're working for it, you're grinding
It
it.
gets
Yes.
very hot, but it's okay. You know, we let it pre-cool sometimes. You know, but it still gets hot, but it's worth it. You know, if you're gonna live here for years, you gotta acclimate to the time of year.
And
That's
that,
the
Like you were
truth.
saying,
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like that. You know, and then when we play shows where it's like extremely hot and the environment's like extreme, kind of just like, oh, that was fun, and everyone else is like.
Kristen's like conditioned. It's like, no, good. It's a walk in the park.
See, you guys didn't know you're supposed to rehearse in a sauna. It makes this way better.
That was like the thing behind it. It's like, okay, we'll always be ready. I guess.
True that. Well, I mean, that's why athletes train at altitude and stuff like that, man.
Exactly.
It's almost like the band equivalent of training at altitude.
Exactly.
We rehearse in a hot room.
Yeah,
We're ready.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, so you record your rehearsals. How do you handle when you want to record things to be released?
That
Do you record it live? Do you track drums? Do you multi-track? How do you
We get
do
to
it?
a point where it's like we know how the song is going to be. We've refined it down. We've got a structure. We've got the whole thing going. And so we've got it how we want to do it. And then we'll bring it to somebody and lay down live a rough take of it. Usually the drums are keepers first.
Okay.
And then I'll go in, re-record if need be. But there might be something worth keeping there when we play together
Right.
live in the first run. So that's important. But it's all just knowing we know how the song goes. We'll go in there and let it happen in this environment and see how it goes, you know? Yeah. And then if you've got keepers, that's the first day, you know? The drums are all laid down, and then I'll go back and record the rest. We're currently doing that with a close friend of ours. And
Nice.
we're going to do a little EP, a 4-song EP coming out very soon.
Very cool. Well,
That'll be nice.
Paper Sound Studios, TC from the Pilot Waves.
Yes.
oh, hell yeah.
Those are homies of ours.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to have them in here at some point. And,
Wonderful
and,
people,
yes.
wonderful artists.
and we're going to have to
Seriously.
have you guys back when the EP is out, and we'll do deep dive on the EP.
Yeah. that would
Do you
be
got a
lot of
time
fun.
frame on that, or do you, like most things, kind of just extend yourself the patience, and when it happens, it happens?
Extend this patience.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, vocal work has got to be done, coming up with the right lyrics and everything like that. Because, like, musically, it's kind of laid out.
Right.
Foundation is there. So then now I lay upon, like, whatever vocal stuff and everything like that. That's going to be coming now. That's this phase. And so.
Yeah. I mean,
We're
I
at
have
that
a
point.
very, very easy job. And just being a percussionist and being like the drummer in the, you know, in the band.
His parts are not easy.
I was going to say,
No.
it's
He
easy
doesn't
for you
write-
because you can play drums.
He doesn't make the
Whoa.
job easy. He writes these wild drum parts.
But-
And it's like, okay.
I'm not really
And then sometimes
adding-
he's like, damn, why was I thinking, well, I just got to do this song now, ba ba ba. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So good.
That's why I'm like, okay, can we start writing more indie stuff where I can kind of take a back seat and just have a quick breather? Thank you very much.
Not as a two-piece.
Yeah, there's like anytime Snow Shadow, because Rick loves playing that song, and it's one song where I'm like, I love playing that song. That's how I say that. I love playing that song. Yes.
Well, that's where the team mentality that you two got going on really is a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. We
Buddy.
lean into each other, and
Yes.
it's like
Yeah.
work it out when we can. If
Yep.
not, it's all right. You know, if anyone's having a bad day,
Yeah.
life's not. You know,
It's
too
life's too
short
short.
for that stuff. It's
Life's
like,
too short.
all right, never mind that. Forget that. You know.
Yep.
Half the people out there, it's just people come out to be, you know, Like, it was funny when you were showing me the gallery and everything over there. I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To see that, and people need to be inspired by these things. And it's just
That's
like
what I'm saying.
something that's cool. Oh, if there's any kind of slightest thing where it's like, that was nice, we did a good job. It's fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, we try our best always to, we rehearse and try to prepare for the shows and everything. But if someone walks away with the slightest positive thing, it's like, okay, we did well today, and it's okay. We can carry this forth.
Hell yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think you kind of answered this question. I'll ask you a little bit of a deep one and a little bit of an easy one to get you out of here. But you can answer this individually or whatever you think the answer is for you collectively as the band. But what part of it, whether or not it's jamming and sweating it out, jamming in front of people and not worrying that you're sweating it out, doing your recordings or writing and rehearsing individually, what part of this, or someone walking away with this tinge of positivity, what part of all this do you guys either individually or collectively derive the most satisfaction from that helps you keep going? That lets you have those moments like, I know we're doing something good. Let's keep doing this.
That's tough. That one's. I mean, for me. I mean, oh no! What were you gonna say? I mean, it's a. I think it's a combination for me. Like, as you know, I don't want to say it's more. I think in the writing process and that sort of factor of crafting the music, it's something that I've found truly special because I truly enjoy Rick's presence and his company and us just being together as like a unit and one. So I think that when it comes to like the writing process, that's always where it's like, that's going to happen every week. That's always going to be something, or every possible week that we can make it.
Right.
And then if not, okay, we'll make it up next week or something. But I think that that's something where in those moments when you can listen back to it and kind of go, whoa, and then kind of like bring, goosebumps and kind of just be like, I think we really could do something with this. This is really cool.
Hell yeah.
The excitement to bring it to people and maybe like,
yes,
hey, this is what we found.
And then the live show
you're
aspect,
responsible only so much,
Yeah,
but
right,
it's
right.
like, we found this thing, and then if people enjoy it, that's like that's
Yeah.
So it's like that's pretty much what I
That's
was
the
feeling
combination.
about
Yeah,
that, because it's
exactly.
like people enjoy it, and then the whole product, and then we get it recorded and everything like that, and then you bring it to people, you bring it to more people in that way. But live, bringing it to people and people enjoy it, it's like. That's the wonderful thing behind it. Like, that's why I think it's just that cauldron. It's always boiling, and like it's exciting to do that. Something new is exciting in a way of like, oh, nobody knows what this is. We'll see
Love
what
that.
happens.
Yeah.
It's a vulnerability.
Yes.
There's a lot that goes into that, but it's just that's what keeps that excitement there, I think.
Yes.
It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's building new fans and like touching people in a way where it's like, maybe I wouldn't have met this person if I didn't play a show with them, or if they didn't come out to a
that
show.
too, the community of the people that you meet is like, damn.
Yeah,
Yes.
people overlook that one. And I really
Yeah.
appreciate you bringing that up because
absolutely.
music will bring people together who would have never otherwise crossed paths.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I know lots of things do that in life, but music is certainly one of those things. So I appreciate you saying that. I think that's something people forget about sometimes maybe.
Absolutely.
I think that's what really keeps that the groundedness and the humbleness of somebody coming out because they heard about the show or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like somebody had come out to a show one time and weren't a lot of people there, and they were like, oh, they were looking at the merch table, and I was like, oh, here, just take a CD. It was like $1.50 or something. We just sell them donation and stuff. And to this day, they still, like all of our posts. It's
Hell
always
yeah.
like they want to be a part of it.
That is special. It's
Yeah. So I think that's what keeps like that us feeling so humble is when we can get such a positive reception, in different areas. We're planning on playing in different areas this summer.
Very
so
cool.
that's going to be a lot of fun where maybe we could play to, even if it is just that one person that's like, yo, that was really, really special. I really like what you guys are doing. Could, that's what we're doing it
These
for.
these people could be doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, in
Yes.
their lives.
Yeah.
But they're there.
But they chose to be there with you.
That's
Yep.
what's really cool about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
looking
Agreed.
forward to that. More of
Agreed.
that.
1000%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's get you out of here. Maybe I hope this one isn't too tricky, but I like to ask bands this one, not because I want to necessarily see who you're the biggest fan of or whatever, but because I always am curious about how artists would see their art, in this case, your music, most advantageously presented to the world. So let's just picture it's this EP you're doing, 4-song EP. You get to have a record release party, 2 bands, any bands you want, live, dead, here, gone, local, international. Who are the 2 bands you would love to see yourself on a ticket with?
Well, you get a band and I get a band.
Yeah.
See that? That's
There you go.
that's
That was
the
arbitrary.
Advantageous.
See,
That's the
didn't
advantage of the 2-piece thing.
Yeah.
You only
We're
set up so many
circling back.
ground rules
Dude,
for this.
you-
It's a callback. It's a callback.
Dude, that was good. You see, you guys got this down to a science. You instinctively did that. I love that.
That's great. Oh my god.
Okay. Oh man. It's so hard to like, because immediately I'm like, oh, like another 2-piece. But then I'm also like, oh, if they're like a band that's like not like from any era. I know. What you say yours, and then I can.
Oh, easy way out. I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
Well, here,
I'm
I'll
not
give you one
sure.
that I
It's
thought
like
when
a
I heard your
thing.
stuff.
Okay.
I would love to see you on a bill with the Mars Volta.
Oh, yeah, that's wild.
That
That's pretty
that
cool.
means a lot, Eric. Thank you. Like, yeah.
That's wild.
That's what I heard. I was like, damn, I could see these guys playing with the Mars Volta,
Yeah.
ripping it up.
Yeah, Omar Rodriguez loved that. His
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
guitar playing.
So I'll hot seat one.
Okay.
I'll take one for you.
I'll-
For-
All right.
It's rough, man. I don't know. It's
I
tough.
I gotta do it. I'll say. Pink Floyd.
Ooh, good.
That'd be crazy. That'd be pretty crazy.
Be a huge crowd.
It's such a weird like perspective.
Right,
point,
exactly.
Because like
What would
It's a fan. Yeah.
the thing is like
Well,
it's-
Pink Floyd's a good answer
No.
because especially if you look at like the early stuff like Adam Hart Mother or Metal, you know, songs like the Adam Hart Mother Suite or Echoes or something, some of these longer songs that people used to really love and were more commonplace, that's a good answer because I could see, you know, your art being presented alongside someone like Pink Floyd or the Mars Volta that have these longer songs. So I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
yeah,
I guess
that'd be a thing.
that would be mine. Or
All right.
Toe.
Oh, snap.
Oh, doubles.
So,
That's
yeah,
very
that
nice.
would be more my modern.
Okay,
I was
my
going to say a
modern
little
man.
underground, more recent.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. Now that the bill is more formulated, I'll throw King Crimson on.
Oh, snap.
All right, there you
Just
go.
because it's gonna be like the proggy kind of like
Yeah.
Yeah.
ambient, whatever, you know.
Oh
It's
my
just
God.
That would be cool.
Oh, well.
Mash together these answers.
Why
you know?
not?
It's
Yeah.
one of those things. Where
Hell
it's
yeah.
like, what are you gonna
No.
do?
Well, on the alternate timeline where y'all and fucking King Crimson and Pink Floyd exist together and you're on the bill, I am there.
It's ridiculous.
Yes. Love
Hey,
it.
your
ridiculous.
stuff would exist back then, so it
Yeah,
works
there you
out.
go.
Yeah.
Kind of. I think.
Heck yeah.
Right?
That's right. It'd be easy to access these instruments.
Right.
Yeah.
See, you guys are good. Transversing eras and timelines.
Yes. Thank you for being patient with us.
Oh, man.
Thank you so
anytime.
much for having
Rick,
us.
Christian, I'm so stoked that you guys came down. I can't wait to have you back when the EP comes out or whatever it
Yeah.
is you guys want to come talk about. You've always got a home here. I'm so happy you guys came. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.